I'm so excited to interview you. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Me too. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank
Yay.
you. I'm honored that you asked. Thank you.
Well, actually, yeah, Lori, if well, I'm gonna, because I have like some questions written down for you, but if you just want to introduce yourself generally, because we're gonna get deeper, but just like introduce yourself generally to my audience, I would love that.
Okay. Well, let's see. Where do I start? I am a 58-year-old almost next week. I'll be 58 next week. Wife, mom of two grown children who no longer live at home. Married. My husband is a business owner of many, 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 many years. And I went from working in dentistry for over 30 years, started actually as a teenager, to being a health coach. And my journey from dental world to consulting in the dental world to becoming a health coach was all because I started to have health problems. And in my journey to figure out what was going on and how to address it, how to feel good, and then to be well, that's what landed me here. And it's a very windy road. It's more like a ball of yarn, like those cartoons with the cat and the ball of yarn. That's my journey.
Well, we're going to get a little bit into it. So, the first question I had was actually what got you into healing? So, you're going to go a little deeper into your story there. What got you into this natural healing?
So, and when I look all the way back, I probably should have started much sooner. But we don't know what we don't know, and our normal. If we're off our whole life, we don't even know what normal is, and I fall into that category because I can look back and say generalized anxiety disorder, stomach issues, gut issues, sleep issues, headaches, lots and lots of things. But it wasn't until after I had children, and they were again, there was postpartum depression there that was actually severe. But it was one of those things that people were starting to talk about it, but because it was, I, I didn't know what I was supposed to feel like. It is overwhelming to have a baby and to be exhausted and all those things. So eventually, fast forward to about the time my kids were, I would say, preteens, so about 9 or 10 years old. And they were starting to have a lot more activities and there was a lot more going on at school. And I was starting to feel more and more tired. And what I look back on now, there was depression, there was anxiety, there was exhaustion, fatigue, um, headaches, excruciating headaches, all kinds of stomach distress. And because it had sort of come on over a series of years, I wasn't addressing it. I just thought, well, I'm getting older. I have kids. I'm tired. Life's busy. But, all this time I'm kind of touching base with my dad, who at the time was in his early 70s. And he's telling me what he's up to. And I'm like, how? How? You're in your 70s. Like I would listen to where we're going here, we're going there. And I couldn't imagine it. And at the same time, I'm like starting to not fall behind, but I'm less and less able to participate in the things my kids needed me for. And when I was participating, I was not my best. I didn't feel well. I got really good at putting on a game face. And then I just kind of hit a wall. And I was telling a friend, I had never seen a holistic practitioner in my life. And she said, look, I see this really fabulous naturopathic physician and you should see her. And, I kind of rolled my eyes, but I had exhausted. I'd already been diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I knew I had gut issues. I knew I had the anxiety. And my regular doctor, the allopathic physician, had said, we don't know why you have this. It's all about your thyroid. It's all about the autoimmune. There's nothing we can do. So I couldn't imagine living the rest of my life like that. And I thought, well, I'm just going to use the internet and dig. And then my friend introduced me to this fabulous holistic practitioner. And she has worked with me and worked with me and worked with me. And it's a process. She's gotten me to, I feel like, the root of it all. And the very first day she started with food. it's one of the very first things she asked me. She said, "What do you eat?"
Mhm.
And I'm like, "What does that have to do with my thyroid or anything else?" And it's just been this, it's like I am the onion and the layers just keep coming off. And it
Mhm.
really it has really come full circle. It's really about what I'm eating, because it's the food, it's what's on the food, in the food, how it's grown, where it's grown, and it all matters.
We were never taught that. I know even
No.
doctors, they still say, like there's the old school doctors who say, you can eat whatever you want. It has nothing to do with food, has nothing to do with your health. I mean, I swear I've heard that out of the mouth of doctors before.
Oh, I have absolutely. As a teenager, I developed acne. I was in high school, and out of the blue, terrible. Like my forehead was just this, it was bad, and it was embarrassing. And we didn't really go to the doctor very often when I was a kid. That was just not. We just didn't. But it was pretty bad. My mom took me, and I took tetracycline for years,
Mhm.
which at the time it cleared up my skin. But my naturopathic physician, when I told her that, she's like, because she
I was
knows
on
the
Accutane.
ramifications of killing your gut
Yeah, is
bacteria.
that similar to Accutane? Is that something like Accutane?
It's not as Accutane is a whole another level of wow.
I was on Accutane, so I fully know. And no doctors looked at my diet. They
No.
didn't. No, that was not even on the table of possibilities. So,
Did
wow.
you ask? I know I asked about that, and I was flat out told him this gentleman was a nice man. But I said, is it because I eat too much cheese? No, food has nothing to do with it. Nothing, nothing, nothing. I look and I'm like, oh, I think I lived on bread and cheese back then. I love it. That was my
Norm.
normal.
Yeah.
Bread, cheese, milk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So you've been on this journey now. Like what age were you said after kids, you sort of dived into the natural healing? So like what year around was it? Like it was in the 90s? Like,
So my kids were born in the very late 90s. Like my daughter was born in 97. I had no clue. My son was born in 99. I had no clue. So it had to be around roughly 2005, 2006 when I was hitting the wall, and somewhere around that time frame. So roughly 15 years ago,
okay.
roughly. I need to go dig it. I probably have records. I could probably find my very first visit. I should ask. I know they have record of it at her office, but it's been about 15 years. And
So
I will fully admit I was not a compliant patient at
no,
first.
the journey there is never, I mean, like, so I want to ask you at that time, because I know I started this kind of just a few years ago and now people are starting to understand it. But when you started, it was like, like, what kind of resistance were you experiencing to, because like, you were probably like wanting to shout this from the rooftops that you found something that was healing you. What did you find around you? How were people reacting to when you talk to them about natural healing?
They think it's hocus pocus. They think it's BS. I have people that say, I don't care. I'd rather take a pill and feel like garbage. And I think that's all. It's either garbage, hocus pocus, or oh, that's just too hard.
Yeah.
It's just too hard. I'm not willing to do the work. It's overwhelming, or it's too hard. I mean, if I have somebody say it's overwhelming, I usually know I could work with them as a health coach because it is overwhelming. But that isn't a closed door. But when somebody says, no, I'd rather take a pill, I tend to just because you have to be ready.
Yeah.
You have to have exhausted all your inner grit. When you run out of grit and you can't do it anymore, and you just are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired,
Yeah.
something changes. There's a shift that happens, and then where our minds are more open to, okay, what can I do?
Yeah.
Because I can't go on like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people say no, and then it comes to a point in their life where they they come back because they're like at the point where they can't anymore live that way. So
Right.
it has to, like the way it happened, for you, where it, like some people, it takes that one thing to trigger. If you can't like be the mom you want to be, or, be like, is something in your life is really compromised because we'll suffer a lot. Like people are used to suffering. So when it's just for
Yes.
us, we will put ourselves, like, we think it's normal to live life suffering somehow. We've been told that, like, depression and stomach issues and all these things are just part of life.
I was actually told that by my the last allopathic physician I saw, and she was lovely. She wanted to be, her heart is in the right place. I don't place animosity or blame there. I'm just very aware now that she only knows what she knows. She only knows how she was trained, and they're trained in the find a symptom, give a and write a prescription for that symptom. They're not trained to go root cause. They're not trained in nutrition. They're not. They give several hours or maybe only a few. And so, it's just a very daunting thing when somebody says, I can't help you. There is no help for you. I mean, facing that for me or being told, no, you're what you feel is normal. You're getting old. And I think at the time I was like 42. And I'm like, really? Because I said, my 75-year-old dad is playing lacrosse with nieces and nephews. I can't even imagine getting up some days, let alone running.
I remember hearing at school, I remember this, it burned to like a thing in my brain that I forget what class it was, but it was like they did a chart, like, and at 35 you start to decline. And it was like 35 was like that, like the peak, and then you start to decline. But that sets you up for this, like obviously people are going to start giving up when they hear that kind of a talk that you're like, that's just
right.
Declining now.
Right, because if they're showing you a graph, somebody with lots of scientific education or some kind of statistical education, or a group of people with multiple kinds of really high level education have come together to create this graph that says, oh, at 35 you will decline. And I have lots of pictures and lots of memories of my own grandparents at roughly 60. And the pictures of them at 60 and where I feel like I am at 60, I'm not 60, but it's only a couple years away. And I'm like, we are completely different people. But society didn't have a lot of answers then. Society was different. And I feel like we have information at our fingertips. Science is evolving daily, if not hourly. We have so much opportunity to feel so much better and to live such much more energetic and full, happy, healthy lives. And it's kind of scary to me that more people don't know what good feels like. I don't think people know anymore. I don't think they know.
I know. I agree. I see people think survival is living, but
yeah. Just I feel okay. I'm good. Nothing hurts today. Like
good enough.
That's good enough. Mm-hmm. That seems to be acceptable. And I'm just one of those curious people who I went from feeling bad to feeling better to feeling good. And then it became, so where I am now, going through all these different stages, I'm like, okay, I want to see I've spent time on the internet looking for that role model. Where am I over 60? Because I look ahead, I'm planning ahead.
Yeah.
Where are my over 60 women that are just thriving health role models? Like, where are they? And there's two that I could find that checked all the boxes. And I realized, okay, I have to be one. There aren't enough. I want my kids to see what I couldn't find and cannot see. So I think it's up to us in this generation, people coming up, 20 years younger than me, have an opportunity to find people like me, because my goal is to be the role model I could not find.
Well, you are. I found you, and I am grateful for that, because I is also, like, I think ahead too, and I'm looking for people who I can aspire to be like. And so I'm grateful that we've connected, because definitely what you're set out to do is you're doing it. And we all need to, you know, look into ourselves, like, what did we need to see as influences and good role models? We need to be that, you know, we need to,
Right.
yeah, we have a responsibility. I wanted to ask you, just before we get off that topic, but like, do you feel like it's a generational thing? Do you feel like you're seeing, like, are you seeing like people over 60 more resistant to it than younger people? Or what are you seeing now in all your years of working with natural healing?
Surprisingly, I think it's a mixed bag, but I live a little bit more in the elder community than a lot of people my age. My dad is still alive. He's had some health issues, but I am the person in his life that helps him manage what he has going on. And so he lives in a community of elder people. And I I see a lot of elder people, like, I don't know how long it took them. I don't know what stage of life they hit before they said, you know what, I can do better. I know I can. So I think sometimes I find more resistance in the 30, 40, 50-year old groups.
Mhm.
When I get to this, once I get into the 60, 70, 80, and one of my dad's neighbors is 99 years old. She's 99. She dresses like she is a fashion maven, and she walks faster and more than anybody else in that community. And I'm like, those are my goals.
Yeah.
I'm going to be her at 99.
We need those goals. We need people like her to show us what we're capable of.
Right. And
Yeah.
I look at her and I'm like, she's not just 99 and existing. She's 99 and she has a very full life. I got the word yesterday from some of the other gals. Oh yeah, she over her, they were pointing at her. And she's in all the activities. She's always happy. She's always put together. She's the best of us.
Beautiful.
And so I think we have this opportunity to live much longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're going to live longer, why not make it great? Like, I've always told my kids, I'm going to live to be 106. So brace yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, watching the elder communities that I've been exposed to the last couple of years, it really does matter the quality of your day, the quality of your health.
Mm-hmm.
Because can you imagine being 106 and feeling like, I don't know if you make it to 106 if you feel like garbage every day, but I want quality.
It's so much more important than even, yeah, longevity. Like, but I have so many things to say personal things that I won't go into now, but we can talk forever about that. Like,
I know there's so many ways you can go off in so many tangents there.
So many people say, like you said, that it's too hard, right? So like when you like, so I guess like, because you've been a health coach for now like 15 years, you said, or?
I've actually only been certified for 7 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
And did you find, because I find that was my resistance, was that like I had to change my whole life and juice every single day, and like how can you live like that, right?
Right. Juicing is daunting. I mean, it's a lot. There's planning, shopping, washing of the vegetables, cutting, and then the juicers are always, there's a lot of pieces and parts, and then they jam and they clog, and to do that every day. I do know people that juice almost every day because it makes that much of a difference in their life.
Yeah.
But it's overwhelming. And so if somebody says you need to exercise, you need to do sauna, you need to take supplements, you need to that's too much. So sometimes I just say, instead of asking people to give up this, and this, I say, if you could, I'm going to ask you to add one great thing every week for 6 weeks, one great addition. So water.
Baby steps. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk about water all week. I actually did a little mini course like a freebie course on how to hydrate better. And there's so much information just about
Yeah.
hydration. So I start there. Water, your cells need it. Then sleep. Set a sleep schedule. Like it's sleep hygiene is huge.
Mhm.
And no, you know, and again, I never ask anybody to be perfect, but just putting these ideas in somebody's mind and like, no, you don't have to do everything all at once. Like this week we'll do this, then this, and then, you know, it's usually in the first 3 weeks that we have to talk about. Let's put something. We have to flood your body with something good because rather than asking you to take away, I like to crowd out. If we're so busy putting in good things, we
Mhm.
have less time to consider the bad.
It's like a switch, like
Hmm.
instead of, because people, I think they like if you just take one little thing, like for me it was like coffee, replacing a coffee with a green juice was the catapult of like my whole healing journey basically, because it was just like that one small shift, just replacing, so not like doing anything crazy, just um has a snowball effect in a positive, like if you're doing a positive thing it's going to have a positive snowball. So
It does. I honestly find that if somebody chooses, even if they're just saying, okay, I'm going to do one good thing, I'm going to do one good thing, and it feels good, and it typically triggers somebody to say, if I can do this one good thing, I bet I can do 3 or 4 more, and it just snowballs really fast. It's very natural for a human being to say, well, I did this, I bet I can do that.
mm,
It's almost like having an internal competition with yourself because everybody likes to do well.
yeah, everyone
So
wants to compete with themselves. I think that we have to, people don't want to feel like it's like they have to feel it within them that they when they start to feel good, then they have that framework to know what it feels like to feel that good. So it's like it becomes your own, because people are not motivated by, they're motivated by themselves. Like it's not going to be sustainable if it's not self-motivated, right? So
right. There has to be actually developed like an eating plan a couple years back, and I called it Succeed in 7. And the whole point was people need results they can see really, really, really fast because we live in an instant world.
mhm.
You know, I can't give you a pill to make you feel better in 15,000 ways, but I can, if I can show you in 7 days how great it feels to eat really clean food and what the changes are in those 7 days, then you'll stick with it and you'll do it again and maybe again. And even if you don't, you've developed an awareness. And that's why, you know, I love, you know, even going from that little program that I developed for some friends and some family members, you know, there's ways to simplify it again, which is why I'm loving green juice. That's why I'm loving, you know, taking care of my gut. That's why you and I are now connected because I'm always looking for something that is, you know, like it's sort of like compound exercise. What are things I can do that encompass many things in one movement? Green juice does so much.
Mhm.
Taking care of your gut, it takes care of almost everything, like really.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
all
that's
those
what you and I,
band-aid pills that they give you for your hormones and for your depression and all those things is like, oh, it's all gut related?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Mood, energy, hair loss,
Yeah.
skin, all of it, digestion, anxiety. Oh, anxiety,
Huge.
huge. I know when I've consumed a toxin because I can feel my nervous system ramp up. It's like somebody's turning up the dial. I'm really sensitive to that now.
Because you're clean. So for people
Yes.
who are not clean, they haven't been doing the inner work, they haven't been, doing the cleansing and stuff. They don't feel those differences. But it's only after I've found in my experience, only after cleansing do I feel when I'm putting something bad in my body. I'm like, oh, now I can recognize,
Yes. You
like,
recognize it. And
isolate
it's sometimes it's subtle, but it's like, wait, I feel off. And I stop. The minute I
it.
feel off, and by off I mean it's not a pain. It's like it's in my head. I feel it it's just a way that I'm not. I think it's a focus thing. Maybe starts to go first for me. And you know, if I
Anxiety, a little bit of anxiety creeping in, you know,
yes,
because I always know, like for me, I know now. I used to say I had PTSD. I did have PTSD, but I blink. But it's like my circumstances now didn't change. It's the way I look at them. So I know when things that normally don't make me anxious suddenly are making me overwhelmed and anxious. There's something in me that's not right. It's not this because of the situation, you know, because
right. It's how like the situation from day to day or week to week might be similar, but how your body reacts to it, how your mind body reacts to it. You know, there are different things as a mom that I've experienced. I mean, my kids were not easy. I mean, I don't have permission to tell their stories and they are now adults. So I refrain, but there are stories there, and the anxiety that comes along with parenting through really hard, life threatening, life changing, devastating things. Each kid had different stuff going on. And, you know, I hope someday my daughter writes a book. I hope someday my son writes a book. They're completely different stories. But my reaction to those things, I actually went to the doctor. I went to my naturopathic physician during some of my daughter's stuff, and I said, "Look, I have anger and anxiety, and it's so big. I'm, it's making me sick. I know this isn't. I don't think this is medical, but can you help me?" And she says, I can't change your circumstances, but I can help you and your body react better. And it really is, if you're nourished and you're not depleted in nutrients, it helps us to, when we're faced with something really big and scary, we have that internal wherewithal to not feel like we're going to come apart at the seams.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, no promises that it's not like it's,
No, but
we still feel,
oh,
but
absolutely, and feel deeply, but it's as you said, you feel you're going to fall apart at the seams is not okay. Like we can't crumble in the face of things, you know. We have to be able to handle things, deal with things.
right.
And so at that time is usually when a traditional doctor will prescribe you a pill to ease that and make you cope. But that is just not, there's side effects to any medications, right? So
Huge ones.
even if in the short term it'll help you cope with your situation, it's not a long-term solution. So
Right. Right. No, my goal was to be foundationally sound, so that, because I had learned that my kids were not going to be, you know, it was not going to be a skate in the park for me as a mom. I had to be foundationally sound. And there were a couple, you know, and the longer I work with my doctor, the more sound I am, the more I dig into my research, my education. I fall back on that all the time. I surround myself with people that use their own healing modalities. You know, my herbalists, R. Kelly, I surround myself with other people who understand with depth different healing, holistic, healthy modalities, so that if I'm stuck, I can go to somebody that has a little depth of knowledge that maybe I don't have. But
well, yeah,
I live in that world.
it's so important to surround ourselves with different natural healers, because all of us come with our own unique story and situation that we've healed from, and also our own unique maybe heritage and origin of the healing. And so it's so important that we, as like, I find this community that we're, in, like, I feel like on Facebook, we've just connected like healers and people, because like we can all learn something from each other. We're all pieces of a puzzle.
Yes. Yes. I feel like that. I really do. I feel like when all of us are talking, when I'm talking with anyone who's in this world, it's more puzzle pieces falling in. They're just landing in all the right spots. And in my perfect world, we would teach healing. We would teach physiology to our preschool age children. It would be a foundational, fundamental piece
Yeah.
of education, because we come out with a body. right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all have a body that we're going to live in. And, I would focus more on why eating an apple is so much better than eating a gummy bear.
Yes.
And, we can talk to 5-year-olds about that. We can talk at elementary levels and work our way up.
Absolutely. It should be the first teachings. And it's also, it's our empowerment. It's our own confidence, like to teach people. And I love, that's why I am so grateful when I connect with people like you, because you understand that like each of us has to be our own healers. At the end of the
Right.
day, we have to be able to trust ourselves and our intuition. And the greatest gift we can give anyone, and especially the younger that you know this, the better, is that we are our own healers. Like we can be our own healers.
Oh, I think if I ever had a chance to have a do-over, I mean, there are no time machines that I am aware of at this point. But if I could go back in time and start again as a parent, I would have the bits they do in the classroom, but I don't know, I might not do public school, I might homeschool. There's a lot I might change, but one of the foundational pieces I would talk so much more about, and I would change what I fed my children. I didn't
Yes.
know.
I didn't know. I was feeding my kids
Didn't know.
McDonald's, like, once a week we would go and have them play. Just the things that we just don't know because they're so common. It's just the norm.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah,
not,
let's go have the bright orange chicken nuggets and the bright orange macaroni and the brightly colored, over flavored, artificially made, artificially jazzed.
it's so funny. No one questions those ingredients. And yet, when we talk about natural healing and we talk about herbs and organic, whole foods, really, we're talking about only like food. Somehow it's like people are questioning every ingredient. Isn't it funny that like people just don't question when they're given a hamburger, what is in that? Like,
Oh yeah, everybody becomes a super nerd, deep researching expert the minute I say, I really like this green juice and I talk about what's in it. And they're like, no, I don't think is there a nightshade in there? I'm like, are you holding an orange power drink right now with words this long and questioning my ashwagandha? Like, what?
yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's such an interesting thing. I've also, so like, what would be, okay, so we're gonna, like, what would be your advice to me? Actually, I'm gonna ask you a personal question, but I think it can apply to, like, to get, let's say, my mother to understand this, like, what would, like, to understand that I feel there's this resistance in so many people, right? Like because they're good enough. It's like that's the thing I hear. I'm good enough. What? How can you communicate how good you can feel, and what would be some advice you would give to someone who's not yet started their journey?
It would depend. Well, if it's like somebody like one of our parents and they were really resistant, like I could go back in time with my dad. He's a great example. He was, I've talked about it. He was living the dream. He was super energetic, but there were things he was not attending to. And I was letting him do his life. He's an adult, right? He's not just my father, he's a grown adult. I try not to overstep, but if I could go back in time, I'd say, you need to address X, Y, and Z. I would love for you to really look at your nutrition and your lifestyle, because if something happens to you, all the responsibility of your care is going to fall on me. I will have to stop my life for the rest of your life to take care of you. And it's not just an ethical, moral, loving thing, which I would do anyway, but I am legally here in the US. I know you're in Canada. I'm not sure. I think it's pretty similar, but I am his legal power of attorney. So I am, he did. He ended up he couldn't make decisions for himself. He couldn't speak. It was very dramatic when he had a stroke. He had more than one. And he's still mobile. So his stroke affected his brain and his speech and his perception. He couldn't identify numbers and letters or colors or shapes or depth. And so he's walking and moving around in life, but he has to have somebody with him at all times. And that was a so if you have somebody that's a parent and they say it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, in my world, it can be very, very serious. And it's somewhat selfish at some point to say, I'm good enough. Mm-hmm. Because everything we do, all our lifestyle habits, eventually spill out onto somebody or many somebodies. And if I could go back in time, I would say, Dad, I'm too young to be your nurse for the rest of your life. I want to be your daughter, not your nurse. But I get to I get to mostly be the daughter now, but it's been a long 2 years. And I know him. And I know as mothers, we love our children. If we know that our choices could drastically alter the course of our children's lives because we didn't want to change, I think that's powerful.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I actually want to end this on saying that probably self-love is the kindest thing that we can do for others. Like,
yes,
it's the most selfless. It's that people think actually. So I would say you're about the same age as my mother. She's just turned 60. But
so we're similar in age. Yes.
Yeah, and that generation. I'm not sure if it's a generational thing or maybe particular to situations, but it was all like self-love is like, it's like almost like selfish, or it's like they like, oh, don't we love ourselves? Like it's like it was like always looked at as like a bad thing to love ourselves. But
it's considered narcissistic.
Yeah.
It is. I grew up I know where your mother's coming from, because I've had to get past that, and I fight it almost every day. Less and less now, because I know if I wasn't optimized health-wise, I could not be the daughter I needed to be when my dad needed me. I could not have been the mom that my kids needed me to be as they reached their, older teenage years and really needed a rock. You cannot be a rock if you're falling apart inside. It's not selfish. It's the least you can do for your family.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's love. Loving yourself allows you to love your family better. That's a fact.
Oh, Lori, I am so grateful for you and the influence that you're having out there and the example that you're leading by. I encourage everyone to follow you, Lori Martin. Do you have any other places that you share? Are you on Instagram or any other platform?
I'm on Instagram. I started over. I'm just kind of ramping up Instagram again. And on Instagram, I am Live Like Coach Lori.
Okay. Live Like Coach Lori.
Live Like Coach Lori. I don't have very many posts yet. I am, for the most part, on Facebook. I like to focus on one big thing. I love
everything you post. So I'm just so in alignment, and I'm grateful for your voice out there. I'm grateful that you did the healing, you did the work, and that you're generous enough to share it with everyone, because I know it comes from just a place of love. And of course you're going to share it because you want to share the planet with people who feel
right. Plus it seems kind of cruel, and it doesn't seem fair to know and not tell other people. If my girlfriends are suffering, I'm not going to just keep it to myself. That's just not good girl code right there. That's bad girl code. You got it. If you know, you have to share.
That's selfish and narcissistic to keep it to yourself. Well, I am so grateful to have to have this conversation. I'm sure. Well, I'm just excited to follow you going forward and learn more and more, and to work together and help more people. So
thank you so much. And I feel the same way about you. I mean, you bring so much to my world. And we're all puzzle pieces, and we need each other. And I love having this community. So thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I learned everything you post, whether it's a recipe, a meal, just a daily habit. If it's something I don't know, it's a reminder at least. And I need those. We all need them. So thank you.
Oh, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Lori. Well, have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon, I'm
I'm
sure.
sure it'll be soon.
Yeah,
No, thank you.
thank you
Yeah,
so much.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.